Anthony very have, you know, I think education, like a kind of guy. Jab, 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 like a shoom, shoom, yes. Jab, 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 like a shoom, shoom, yes.
But Jake Paul, I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
Joshua didn't step, irrespective. I sat to all these guys, whether it be Spencer or Paul Smith, talking about the fact that Jake Paul couldn't run, didn't have the footwork to be able to move around the ring and get away from Anthony Joshua. And irrespective of the fact that he proved he can run, I mean, we knew he could run because he's got legs. But the fact of the matter is, Anthony Joshua, as an elite fighter, and all this ring rust cobblers, he's not the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. He was fighting against a YouTuber who hasn't got any level about him. So with due respect to the situation, Anthony Joshua didn't throw any meaningful punches. Even the punch that he knocked him out was an arm punch. And you look at the reality, you think to yourself, Anthony Joshua knew what he was in with. He's been broken into America now as a media star alongside being a boxer. Netflix have got some wonderful content, and Jake...
Sometimes a story ends in the way that the story should end. It always should have ended with Anthony Joshua knocking out Jake Paul. And that's exactly what...
Oleksandr Usyk didn't hold back as he reacted to Jake Paul getting knocked out in Anthony Joshua's fight. He made it clear this was a lesson Paul needed, pointing out how in other fights Jake could buy wins, but against Joshua, the truth was exposed. The audience saw him running in the ring.
Pray for Jake Paul.
Yes, I will pray Jake Paul because I want fight with Jake Paul in octagon.
Duke McKenzie summed it up perfectly, highlighting how Anthony Joshua made sure Jake Paul couldn't talk his usual nonsense anymore. The broken jaw was a harsh but deserved lesson, showing that Joshua's level is far above Paul's antics. Fans witnessed a shocking moment, proving that this was more than just a fight. It was a reality check for Jake Paul.
Did that to him, because now he won't be able to talk like he does for a while. We won't have to listen to him.
Michael Bisping emphasized exactly why Jake Paul's antics were beyond reckless. Anthony Joshua didn't just win. He sent a clear message that boxing isn't a joke. Jake's broken jaw and surgery were consequences of stepping into a real ring against a real champion. You guys make sure to like and then hype this video to get your valuable opinion pinned in the comments. This fight exposed Paul's lack of respect and understanding for the sport, proving he's not ready for elite competition.
Right? The man had his jaw broken by Anthony Joshua. He had to have teeth removed. He had surgery. Okay, apparently he's going to have a couple of plates in his face. So forgive me if I fell for the AI image where his face is swollen, okay? But the point that I was going to make on that video that I did make, that I'm now redoing, where I know I've been had by the AI, the point that I'm making still stands. Boxing is not a game. Fighting is not something you pick up and mess around with, right? If you're a fighter, if you're a boxer, if you're a mixed martial artist, right, you have to take this seriously and you have to respect the game. That's why when he fought Anthony Joshua, I scoffed at it. I talked a little bit of because of the lunacy. And I said, someone's going to end up dead.
Stephen A. Smith laid bare the contrast between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. While Joshua approaches boxing with professionalism and discipline, Paul treats it like a stunt. The fight proved that no amount of charisma or online persona can substitute skill and preparation. Fans saw how Joshua's dedication crushed Paul's overconfidence and exposed him for what he truly is in the ring.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing, and I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer.
Carl Froch didn't mince words when pointing out Jake Paul's complete mismatch with Anthony Joshua. 18 minutes and barely any effective punches showed how outclassed he was. The fight turned into a survival lesson, revealing Paul's true limitations. Fans were left laughing at his bravado as Joshua dominated and dismantled the illusion Paul had built around himself.
This take that this guy's in there with Anthony Joshua, swinging away, landing... What's he done? He's had 18 minutes and landed 2 shots, and he's gone on survival.
Johnny Nelson perfectly captured the unraveling of Jake Paul in front of the audience. Anthony Joshua didn't just knock him out, he dismantled his confidence and ego. Watching Paul struggle, drop to his knees, and face the reality of being outclassed was a moment every boxing fan had been waiting for. Joshua's dominance humbled the overconfident influencer in front of millions.
This boy out clean and get rid of him, because they, you know, everybody I've spoken to, they just want, they're like, I want to see Jake Paul get knocked out. And I just said, I don't want to see him get knocked out. I want to see him get beat up. I want to see him quit. I want to see the reality of everything he's saying and doing kick in. And in a way it did happen, but he didn't get beat up. And slowly but surely the confidence, the self-belief ripped out of him to the point where he's dropping on his knees. He's like, he must have fallen down about 12 times.
Dave Allen admitted Jake Paul showed some fitness and cleverness, but the fight itself was a one-sided demolition. Anthony Joshua's superiority was undeniable from start to finish. Fans saw a real boxer dismantle a social media fighter, proving that preparation, skill, and ring IQ cannot be faked. Paul might be fit, but he is not ready for elite competition. And this fight exposed every flaw he tried to hide behind bravado. The lesson was clear. The gap between an influencer and a world-class athlete is massive.
The fight was, it weren't a fight, was it? It was really, really one-sided. Jake Paul, yeah, I've got to give him credit really, because he's super fit. He's pretty clever really. Like, he'd make a good,
Anthony Joshua himself admitted the fight wasn't flawless, but the mission was accomplished. Pinning Jake Paul down and delivering the decisive right hand proved that experience and timing always triumphed over hype. Fans witnessed the culmination of strategy and discipline, seeing Paul overwhelmed by a champion. Every punch and every calculated move demonstrated why Joshua is on another level. The audience experienced the harsh reality that charisma and social media fame are powerless against true boxing skill. And Joshua reinforced his dominance while Paul's bravado crumbled under the pressure.
Now, you asked me a question. Look, it wasn't the best performance. It wasn't the best. The end goal was to get Jake Paul, pin him down and hurt him. That has been the request leading up, and that was on my mind.
David Hay acknowledged Jake Paul's strategy to survive and catch Joshua off guard, but it failed against the champion's precision and power. Joshua's knockout was inevitable because Paul could not match the skill or timing of a true professional. Even with lateral movement and hope, Paul ended up bloodied and exposed, showing fans that strategy alone cannot overcome elite ability. The broken jaw and visible damage were harsh reminders of the consequences of overestimating oneself. Every observer saw the difference between hype and real boxing mastery, with Joshua firmly on top.
Of his performance, though.
He did what he needed to do. He got a knockout. Everyone was expecting it. It's very difficult to pin someone down when they're not trying to engage. Jake's game plan was a good one. Was to use lateral movement and hope to land a big overhand right at some stage to catch AJ off guard. Didn't quite work out, but you got to give Jake credit. Took some big shots there. I think he's got a broken jaw or something, spitting blood at the end of the fight. No, anything's possible. He gave it a go. He dared to be great. Didn't work out for him, understandably. That's why he was such a massive underdog.
The Wade concept highlighted that Jake Paul's defensive survival tactics slightly challenged Joshua's timing, but it changed nothing in the outcome. AJ didn't need to look perfect to dominate, and the fight confirmed his superiority. Fans understood that Paul's attempts to extend the rounds were futile against a world-class athlete. Joshua's control and final power punches overshadowed any minor difficulties he faced. The commentary reinforced that no cleverness or evasive strategy could hide the reality of Paul being overmatched. The audience witnessed a harsh lesson in skill, precision, and the gap between a champion and a showman.
I think Jake fought a very, how do I survive long enough to land a right hand type of fight, and it made it a little difficult for AJ to get his timing. No excuses. AJ didn't look great, I'll be honest. He didn't look great. He didn't look like, an AJ we thought we were going to get, the marauder, the guy that was going to come forward and bang out Jake in one round.
Daniel Cormier confirmed what everyone watching already knew. Joshua was in a completely different league. Paul's inexperience and lack of skill were glaring compared to a seasoned champion. Fans got a clear picture of why professional expertise beats bravado. Joshua's movement, timing, and power made the mismatch obvious. The fight wasn't just a victory. It was a demonstration of mastery. Every fan watching saw the reality of the gap between a true world champion and a social media fighter, reinforcing Joshua's dominance and further humiliating Jake Paul in the eyes of the audience.
Oh, good. Joshua looked good.
He looked good right off.
Joshua looked like he was fighting a guy that was...
Ariel Wani captured the sheer danger Anthony Joshua posed every time he threw a punch. His reach, timing, and devastating power left fans on the edge of their seats. Jake Paul's bravado crumbled because he simply could not contend with a champion in his prime. Every hook and straight punch reminded the audience why Joshua is elite. The fight was a masterclass in boxing fundamentals and strategy. Paul's attempt to survive was futile against an athlete who combined size, skill, and precision perfectly. Fans saw the brutal reality that fame does not equal ability, and Joshua's dominance was absolute from start to finish.
Every time he threw a punch, I like wince, because he's a big man and he's an incredible boxer and he's still in his prime, and he's got a very long reach and he's got a lot of power in that right hand, and that left hook is terrifying as well. And so I thought
Eddie Hearn shut down any notion that Joshua's fight was anything but legitimate. This was professional sport, not a performance, and Jake Paul's bravado was exposed for what it was. Fans saw a champion and his team operate with complete seriousness. While Paul's hype fell flat, Joshua's power and precision cannot be scripted, and Hearn reminded the audience that this was sanctioned, real, and brutal. Social media fame cannot create credibility in the ring. Fans were reminded that being athletic online does not make you a boxer. And Joshua's victory was a demonstration of pure sanctioned skill, leaving Paul humiliated in front of the world.
Very clear. You know, this whole, oh yeah, well if it's scripted, please stop with that bullshit. One, we would never enter a fight. By the way, that is illegal. This is a professional sanctioned contest. I don't believe for a second that fight was... Imagine saying to Mike Tyson, yeah mate, like don't hit me. Do you honestly think that Jake Paul or Nikisa would have even the front to say to me, right, here's the proposal, 8 rounds, 10-ounce gloves, but you're only allowed to...
The fight left no doubt who the true champion is. Anthony Joshua showcased why he is one of the most feared heavyweights in the world with his timing, power, and ring IQ. Jake Paul's bravado and social media hype meant nothing in the face of real skill. Every punch Joshua threw exposed Paul's inexperience, and fans saw a masterclass in preparation, patience, and execution. From the methodical tracking to the decisive knockout, Joshua reminded everyone that being athletic online cannot compete with professional expertise in the ring. The audience witnessed the harsh reality of boxing, where only true champions thrive and pretenders fall. The reaction from Usyk, Parker, and the experts reinforced the narrative that Joshua's dominance is undeniable and that Paul was merely an experiment that failed spectacularly. Fans now know who belongs at the top. Are you backing Anthony Joshua, or do you think Jake Paul can ever redeem himself? Drop your thoughts below.